Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Victor, King of the Morons, with a video response for Kanadajin3. Now, I know we can't really do video responses on YouTube anymore, but I'm going to do it anyway. You know, I'm going to send it to her in an email. And I just cracked open a bottle of Jack. I actually did a one take, and it was too long, so I'm going to see if I can get now that I've had a shot of whiskey, I hope I can get my thoughts in order here. First, I'd like to say to Kanadajin3, I know you're tired of loving. No, I can't do that. I hope you know that reference. That's from Bound 2, the new Kanye West song. Which I gotta say, the opening is okay, but as soon as you hear honey, you just want to punch him repeatedly in the face. And I'm not a Kanye West fan ever, and I think the guy he's a slave to his own fucked up view of the world, but that's another story. I hope he's not Canadian for your sake. But anyway, here's the video response to Kanadajin3. And I guess before I get into this, I kind of want to say that everyone's full of shit, including myself, maybe especially myself. But a lot of us on YouTube, including the Jvloggers, we often attempt to portray this image of ourselves that is not honest. Recently, a big Jvlogger left Japan under the claim that he wanted to go back to his country, but he actually got kicked out. Now I'm not gonna say who he is, and if you know, please don't leave it in the comments. But I think why didn't he just say, "Dude, I fucked up and don't be like me, learn from my mistakes." I know another person who's in a bullshit, marriage, but pretends that they're happy. But they put on this, everything's great. My marriage is great. But why don't they just talk about it, saying, hey, I talk about when I have fights with my wife all the time, right? But again, here's the thing. It's unrealistic for you, the viewer, to think otherwise. So when you watch our videos, you should know that a lot of us are full of shit. We're not giving you a full view of our life because that's a little creepy. Then you would be like Kim Kardashian. And that's fucked up. So congratulations for everyone to keeping part of your life under wraps. But at the same time, I don't see any reason not to use your failures as a teaching opportunity. Yeah. So enough of that. But I want to address Kanadajin3 because Kanadajin3 is someone that I did not. I have to say I wasn't really a fan. I'm not a fan of anybody. I'm not a fan. Well, am I? There's a few people I'm fans of, but you're not one. But don't take that as an insult, because I hope you're not my fan either. I hate it when people say fan, especially when they talk to me. I ran into two girls in the other street the other night in the street. And they didn't say fan. That's good. But they were obviously I saw their faces and they were like, oh, we know you. So it was kind of freaky. But I was really friendly to them, and I didn't act like a Kanye West for sure, right? Do him on my motorcycle. Anyway, but the point is, I'm not your fan. I'm a viewer. I enjoy your videos. I didn't always enjoy them. I'm enjoying them more. But I want to talk a little bit about something that you made in your last video called GAIJIN tips number 9. You've kind of stimulated my thought processes, and it's called Japanese Ignore Strangers. A little background on Kanadajin3. Young girl from Canada. I did notice. I think she said there's something I just want to point out. I think just kind of the full disclosure, I think it's called. I'm not a really big fan for two reasons. Part of them are my silly prejudices. One of them, not that you're Canadian. I like to joke that I don't like Canadians, but it's not really true. It's just a joke. Actually, everyone loves Canadians, and that's why I joke about it, because really, how can you dislike a Canadian? You can dislike individual Canadians, which I do. I do dislike a couple individual Canadians, but you are not one of those. But I do dislike the fact that you do not respect spelling. And I know that's very silly, because your job, which I don't even know what it is, but as far as I know, your job does not consist of spelling things in English. So it's kind of silly for me to hold you to that strict morality. But I'm kind of a spelling Nazi, and I've noticed in your descriptions sometimes that you misspell things. But again, at the same time, I saw on Yahoo yesterday, they spelled first, Frist, Frist. So you're better than Yahoo, I guess, So there you go. The other thing that I noticed about you was that you wrote in a comment that you didn't think you had a Canadian accent. I don't remember who it was with. You had some kind of, I think you had a back and forth with somebody, and you said you didn't pronounce about as a boot as many Canadians, and not to that extent, but you do have a Canadian accent, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I think it's important to be aware of yourself and the kind of the way people see you, and hopefully have it. I think it helps you to have an accurate view of the way people see you. I do my best, even though it's sometimes painful to know how people see me. Anyway, cheers. Okay, so very interesting video. She talks about Japanese ignoring strangers, and basically, in summary, very quickly, 5 minutes into the video, finally getting to it, she says that in Japan, Japanese basically ignore troublemakers, and that's the way you should be. That's the vibe I'm getting from her video. Is she's recommending that if you want to come to Japan, live in Japan, that's the best way to be, because if you're not that way, you're basically going to cause troubles, and you're going to make everyone around you uncomfortable. And if you do cause problems, if the cops get involved, then it's just going to be more of a hassle, and it's just not worth it. And that's the way Japanese are. But I've got two problems with that. I don't think that's necessarily true, though I will admit that your observations are accurate. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. Let me explain. I teach quite a few oba-chans, okay? Very intelligent. I've got one who's a doctor, very intelligent, old-fashioned woman who comes to class every week ready to tell me a story about what she did that week, often involved taking a trip with her husband somewhere on the weekend. But 2 weeks ago, she came to class and she told me about how she had seen some Chinese tourists. I don't remember what city she was in, but they were at a platform, and some Chinese tourists cut in front of her, and she told them, "Get in line." She said, "I'm waiting," and she was upset because they did not respect the line. So this is an old woman, and most people in Japan, I will admit, don't do that. But I'm thinking, maybe that's the new generation. Maybe that's the new Japanese, and that's not the traditional samurai Japanese, the samurai spirit. I think that maybe, and of course, I'm saying I really don't know if this is true, but I would like to think that the older, traditional, real Japanese. I know it's not fair to say real, but because if everyone is not that way anymore, then they're not really real. But I guess the original Japanese spirit does not allow you to just close one eye or look away when injustices are being carried out. Now, I live in Nagoya, which is much smaller than Tokyo, so and I have seen many people speak up on trains, and I myself, as you know, I am quite fond of speaking up on the train and telling people, "Hey, I've picked up people." Now, I've been here 23 years or so. I've picked up people and actually I've taken them out of the train physically. When I got one guy when he was smoking, and everyone applauded when I did it. Okay, that was a long time ago when smoking just became illegal on trains, and I have often spoken up when people have misbehaved, throwing garbage on the street, or smoking when they're not supposed to, things like that, or even like people beating up other people. I've intervened, and I've said, "Hey, don't do that," or "Stop them," right? And I've often been complimented or thanked for my intervention. So what I will say is that although you're mostly right in that that's the way people do behave in general, I won't say that that's a real Japanese spirit. I think it's just it's a symptom of modern society. And I think it's something that's not just Japanese, it's all over the world. Most people, don't want to get involved all over the world. It's just too much of a hassle, You hear this. I mean, why would they pass Good Samaritan laws in the U.S. where you can actually be punished for not helping out? Because that's how bad it is. That the common sense of the altruistic spirit is crushed, not crushed, but it's ignored. And I think it's something that's part of natural society. I think most natural societies evolve with some kind of altruism in their society. And just yesterday or 2 days ago, there was some article on, again, Yahoo. Why do I read Yahoo? I'm an idiot. Was saying that, Americans are even less trustworthy than they used to be, right? And of course, in Japan, the weird thing about Japan is it's such a trustworthy country that you can leave your wallet, you can leave your camera, you can leave your bag and come back and it'll still be there. Nobody steals, well, still people steal a few things, but not so much. And a lot of the fraud, a lot of the crime here is fraud, which is based on con men because it's so easy to gain people's trust because everyone trusts each other, right? It's such a screwed up country, huh? Where the crimes are committed by the crimes are dependent on Japanese's biggest weakness, which is also their strength, which is the fact that they trust one another. Isn't that bizarre? But anyway, back to your video. I say you should drink water before you drink whiskey again, so you can fully appreciate the whiskey. I'm wondering, the question for me and for all the other foreigners is, should we stifle our desire to interfere? Or which is part of my gaijin-ness, right? My gaijin-ness. Should we stifle this desire to interfere? Or should we actually act on it and keep it? Shouldn't we try to keep that? I think, of course, for me, I would say we should keep it. Though I'm actually torn sometimes. Sometimes I do choose to stay silent, to not, disturb the the peace of society. Yeah. So I feel like in your video, Mira, is it Mira? Is that how you pronounce it? I feel like you're telling people that they should stifle that. But I would say, yeah, maybe. But if you don't want to, it's not a big deal, And actually, nothing's a big deal in the whole shortness of the sakura of life, the falling cherry blossom petals that our lives are. Nothing's a really big deal at all. Do whatever you want, but I would say, don't feel bad if you do feel like acting up a little bit and saying, hey, stop doing that. Now, I want to point out one more thing that kind of bugged me a bit. There's a video called 2 Gaijin Attacked by a Japanese Drunk Man in Tokyo Train. And I'll put a link in the description below. And I'll also put a link to Mira's video. And so these two, I think one of them said he was Colombian. I've seen the video before, and someone sent it to me again and said, hey, what are these guys saying? So these two Spanish-speaking Latinos, whatever, are on a train causing problems. So they're basically filming each other, and it's really packed, and they're just kind of laughing. And some old Japanese guy is yelling at them. And I'm pretty sure it's in Tokyo. Yeah, it's Tokyo. It says Tokyo, unless they're lying. But it's the Saikyo line in Tokyo. So these two gaijin are on the train acting up, and this Japanese guy is protesting. So what Mira says, obviously can't be 100% true. Obviously, because it's her observation, so it's not a scientific, poll or anything. And I know that the another weird thing that's kind of interesting is that in the old, a lot of people aren't going to know about this, but there used to be a Japanese Halloween. No, it's a gaijin Halloween tradition called the Yamanote train. That's what it was. And I'm starting to slur my words. I better drink some more. No. So the Yamanote train is a train that goes in a circular, on a circular track in Tokyo, I believe. If I'm wrong, it doesn't matter. That's not really the point. And foreigners, once a year, used to, on a night very close to Halloween, they would get on the train and they would follow the train in a circle. And some Japanese got it in their heads that this was really exceptionally rude, and they had to stop them. And they started making problems for them and protesting, and eventually I think they got, and the police would warn them not to do it, but the foreigners in my mind weren't really doing anything. It was like one train they took up, and it's just as bad as Japanese salarymen getting drunk and throwing up. At least no one was throwing up, but apparently some foreigners did act up a little bit. They did get out of control, but I don't think you should ban the whole, you shouldn't stop everybody from doing it. But some Japanese got it in their heads that they shouldn't do that. So they did do something. They got up and they said, we're going to stop you from doing it. So Japanese are, although you said they don't like to cause a commotion, they will cause a commotion in a group sometimes. And drunk salarymen, like this one in the 2 Gaijin Attacked by a Japanese Drunk Man in Tokyo Train, where the old Japanese guy is yelling at the 2 Latinos. Sometimes, Japanese do say something. And even in Japan, even in Nagoya where I live, when I first when I first got here. I was in an elevator once talking to my 3 foreign friends on the way down of a 12-story building. And there happened to be a Japanese woman in it. And I was the only one who spoke Japanese, and she knew that. And when we got out, she said, "Please tell your friends this is Japan." Meaning you shouldn't be talking in an elevator. But, which is kind of, you know, a little bit silly because people do talk on elevators. And it's only 12 stories. I mean, come on, give me a break. You can talk on the elevator, right? But the point was, she did speak up. Something bothered her, and she spoke up. So Japanese do speak up. I would say that maybe what Mira observed is more common in Tokyo, but I think in other parts of Japan, people do help each other, because we're not just talking about criticizing, we're also talking about helping each other. People do help other people in Japan. It isn't as cold as I think, at least where I'm from. I've seen people help. It isn't that cold, but of course it depends on the situation, and my subjective experience isn't by any means scientifically valid at all either. But I do thank Mira for the stimulating topic of conversation and the opportunity to come on here and have a little drink with you guys and say hello again. I will say, good job, Mira. I know you're working hard on that video on the YouTube, so keep it up. I'm glad you're being. I see in your last video you're like welcoming people's opinions, and so thanks for doing that. I think I felt in the future that you're a little closed-minded when people criticized you, but which of course I think everyone goes through that stage. So yeah, so welcome welcome the naysayers and all the trolls, and don't worry about them too much, and keep at it. And thanks for making the video, and thanks for watching, guys. If you don't know Mira, she's got a channel called Kanadajin3. And yeah, I won't say I agree with everything she says, but I don't agree with most of anyone's videos that much, even my good friends. So, but I will say that they do bring stimulating subjects of conversation to the table. So check her out. And that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Good night.